This is the Tigers Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Detroit Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Woof! Brutal. What kind of a homestand was that? The Chicago White Sox take the series from the Detroit Tigers. Welcome into a live Locked On Tigers postcast on a busy Sunday, busy weekend in the Motor City. Jake Riepma, happy to have you along. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. 6-4 the final in this one, in a game in which the Tigers just didn't really show a lot of life. And oh, by the way, when you walk 8 White Sox batters, that usually spells trouble. I'm sorry, 9. Shortchanged them. 9. How about that? That being said, appreciate everybody tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you for a live Locked On Tigers postcast. We'll go through everything today, including, as I mentioned, a difficult reality that this team is facing. The pitching staff has been brutal. 2-4 homestand, and then we will turn the page to look at the New York Yankees and the Miami Marlins. The road trip continues. So buckle up, dial it in on a live Locked On Tigers postcast, and let's get after it. We begin where we always begin. Oh yeah, by the way, your comments always welcome, because I know there's got to be some frustrated Tigers fans out there, just the way I am frustrated. So we will commiserate together. How does that sound? And I appreciate all of the current comments and engagement. And geez, if you're with us on the Locked On Wolverines postcast last night, you know that was a tough night. If you're with me for the Tigers, yes, the Tigers got the win last night with Skubal on the mound. They had to get the win with Skubal on the mound, but that being the only portion of the weekend that's been good so far. And I know it's early. It's really early, but we're keeping an eye on the Lions on the road in Green Bay, and not the ideal start in the opening quarter. Hopefully you listen to this later and it turns around for the better for the Tigers. But here we go. That's my shameless plug into saying, hey, we got post-game shows for you on all of the Detroit Locked On pages, as well as the Locked On Wolverines as well. So here we go. Buckle up and dial it in. As I mentioned, we begin where we always do. And unfortunately, it's pointing out the glaring holes on this team that really showed their, how do I say it, kind of their ugly head and the reality of that. And it's like a wart. It's like a zit. It's coming to that white head. And I'm sorry to give a disgusting analogy like that, but that's how I feel about Tigers baseball right now in September. All of a sudden, you have this acne, and it's coming to a whitehead now, and I can just see it, and I can't take my eyes off of it. So that's how we begin, what we took away from this series.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Listen, sometimes you start talking, you don't know where it's going to go. So if I gross people out with that analogy, I'm really sorry. I expect to see a lot of comments being like, okay, I can't watch the show anymore because you got the host talking about whiteheads in pimples. But hey, I apologize for that. We've all had them, right? I mean, we've all had that. I guess that's just how I could most adequately compare what Detroit Tiger baseball feels like right now. So 2-4 homestand, a difficult loss to the White Sox, and it feels like if Tarek Skubal doesn't pitch, this team doesn't have a chance to win. The Charlie Morton stuff, listen, I think he's a great clubhouse leader. I understand the chemistry and continuity with AJ Hinch. I understand taking a flyer on him. It's kind of a bummer that it didn't work, or it hasn't worked out yet. And there was at the beginning some shades of maybe it made a lot of sense and some instances to that, but this guy just, he can't, I don't want to stick a fork in him, say he's done, but at the same time, Father Time is undefeated, and it was a good idea that just might not have worked out. And I say good idea with the acknowledgement and perhaps understanding that shouldn't have been the only nod to the starting pitching as far as acquisitions are concerned, in-season acquisitions. And I know you got Chris Paddock as well, so we know how that experiment is going. There just was a lot of, how do you say this? A lot of flyers taken, and it doesn't feel like any of those flyers are going to come into fruition. The Paddock flyer, maybe Montero, Finnegan was, and it's not his fault. He got hurt, and hopefully he comes back and remains the way he was. But man, just when you think about all of the moves that were made, it's just so hard that none of them are materializing. And I don't want to take some kind of victory lap because there's still so much more baseball to be played. And I hope I'm wrong, but man, I don't feel great about this team. And that's the biggest takeaway from today's loss. And again, you're losing to a team like the White Sox, who are 34 games below 500. So it's not like you could, I know when you look back at some of those series when I was getting heated, people would say, oh, they lost some competitive games to the Phillies. That's going to happen. That's a first place team. And I agree with you, but the White Sox are not a first place team. And maybe, if you take the Mets series under a microscope and say, yeah, that's a really good playoff bound team as well. It remains to be seen if the Mets make the playoffs. But the point being is this Tigers team doesn't feel like they can go up against other upper echelon teams right now because of the lack of depth and because of the toll that injuries have taken. And I'm not declaring the season over by any means, but again, I got to read some of these comments to see if anybody else feels the way I do after this weekend, but it's hard to be invested. And it's like going into, I guess I'm not going to say, I know what it's like going into battle, but it's like maybe something a little bit more comparable, like going into a presentation at work to your bosses where you just know the sales numbers are terrible. The report, it is what it is kind of feeling with this Tigers team. So let's get into some comments. Demetrius McNeil leads us off first. Jake, this is sickening. Runners in scoring position cost the Tigers the game and a disastrous loss to the White Sox. How terrible. Come back next series against the Yankees. Yeah, listen, Charlie Morton gives you 3 innings. The bullpen was strong for a while. You take advantage of some White Sox mistakes. I mean, they try to hand you a handful of runs. They do in that first inning with all the errors and there was a while where Tigers only runs, just on sacrifice flies. They couldn't get the big hit either. Gleyber Torres strikes out in, let me see, what inning was that? The 7th inning with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. And again, it's frustrating. And I can't put it any other way. Guy Merritt says, and now we go to New York. Ugh. R1VJ4. Canely can't be trusted with the game on the line. It's that simple. Don't know why AJ keeps going with this failure. Seems both Morton and Canely just don't want to help the offense win. Yeah, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I've said at length, I don't think Canely or really this entire bullpen enough was done to take them from a weakness to a strength. And I'll never understand how you could objectively look at where this team was, the trajectory of this team and where they could be, and just deem, okay, we got to build for the future. We can't mortgage too many prospects. We can't, whatever the determining factor was to say, no, we're good. We're fine just doing bargain bin shopping on the clearance rack at the deadline. Whatever that was, I'll never understand that declaration. And if I guess the only logical one is to say you can't mortgage the future. You can't mortgage the future. Well, great. We got the West Michigan White Caps are the best team in minor league baseball. Let's have a parade in Grand Rapids. Nice area. I love Grand Rapids. All right. I'm sorry. I'm in some kind of mood today. Let's do more comments. Mark, this is turning into a disaster sports weekend. Indeed. Tim Palmer, I blame Harris for half the losses since the deadline. You're not the smartest guy in the room, Scott. Tim Palmer, thank you. In fact, with takes like that, because it's exactly what I'm saying and not what I agree with, you can host the next show when I feel this way, because it gets dangerous when I get in these types of moods. And I'm sorry, I really am. But Tim, you're spot on as well. Rod says, what an embarrassment. Alex C., this team is not going very far in the playoffs. Inconsistent in hitting and pitching. Freaking waste of a season not adding a hitter, but we added 2 lousy freaking pitchers. Alex C., thank you. And also, too, I know I took some heat when I had the strong takes at the deadline, or whatever we want to call them, opinions, whatever it is. And I'm not taking some kind of victory lap because I'm as upset as anybody. It just what seems so inherently clear that not enough was done. It just, All right, I'm getting wound up. All right, Zinter is up next. This team is going to struggle to get 90 wins with this pitching. They could absolutely still put this division in play. I don't know. I mean, maybe Zinter, I'm not going to rule you out. I'll just counter it with 9 games in however much is left of the season would be an awful lot. That would be crazy. Alex C., other than Scooble, who is giving you a quality start for more than 4 innings, and one of my favorite emojis, that's if you're watching on YouTube, you can see on the screen, but for the audio listeners, it's the emoji who looks like he's so like, wah! I'm sorry. I'm giving audio cues of what emojis look like. It's the emoji that kind of looks like you just got punched in the face type of thing. Like, wah! Sorry, I'm all over the place. People are going to call the lockdown bosses and say, yeah, Reitma, I don't know what he had on Sunday, but you can't have the Tigers lose a series to the White Sox or he gets a little bit nutty. But I promise you, it's just coffee. That's all I've had today. But all right. YouTube blocks. That's an interesting username. If I didn't know any better, I would say the fix is in. Let's leave the pitcher on the mound game once we have what's his name in the hill. I don't know what you're saying. I'm sorry. All right, that's enough comments for right now. Although Gino Remo says Shy Sox are playing playoff baseball right now. Take a day off and get them Tuesday. That's the optimism we need. All right, we'll keep the lights on and close it out next here on Locked On Tigers Postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by our good friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. Who wants to do that? That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives like you and me. And if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is the answer for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet, which is good news for me. I don't even know how to log into Microsoft Excel. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKDOWNMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKDOWNMLB. Today's episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is also brought to you by Zippix. That's right. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligrams and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I love the caffeine toothpicks. I just mentioned I drink a lot of coffee, and sometimes a little change up is nice, and it doesn't come with any of the jitters or, what the negative connotation is with some of those other caffeine products. And that is what I love about it, my friends. All right, go to ZippixToothpicks.com. Use code LOCKDOWN for 10% off your first order. Must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's ZippixToothpicks.com. Promo code LOCKDOWN. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks. All right, Tigers lose both series at home. They had been one of the best teams in the bigs at home, but a 2-4 road trip is surprising, and an off day tomorrow to regroup a little bit before heading to the Bronx, followed by a 3-game series with the Yankees. You'll have the Miami Marlins for 3 in South Florida. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get to it. It's our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Couple of turning points here. I'm checking my notes just for proof right here. There I am checking my notes. The Gleyber Torres, I hate to put it all on Gleyber because at the time of the strikeout, it was 4-4, and he's just been so good. So good and so dependable. And I hate to just pinpoint that at bat, but in a tie game, it's like, my goodness, can we get that runner home, do something? And he strikes out, and then he just felt like the Tigers were playing on thin ice with the fact that they're on thin ice with the bullpen, and it was just a matter of time before the floodgates opened, and that's exactly what happened. And you just can't help but think, could it or would it have been different if, in fact, Tigers would have been able to take that 5-4 lead? But, again, 9 walks. You're not going to win games when you walk 9 players, 9 batters, whatever you want to call it. You're just not. And that's as simply put as we can do. So all that to say, hey, let's go get them on Tuesday. A little refresh. You love that. And we got one more for our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Boy, you go up and down both teams' stat sheets. The catch, I want to say this too, and I should have mentioned it way sooner. I'm sorry that I didn't, but that home run robbing catch by Will Robertson, just insane. I mean, I'm watching that, my jaw drops. And I know this is the Locked On Tigers postcast. I don't want to spend too much time on the White Sox, but that was insane. I mean, Robertson runs a half a mile, times the jump perfectly, and legit robs it. A lot of, and I don't want to take away from other catches, but a lot of these catches, you see the catch and the momentum carries you over the fence, and would it really have been like a true home run saving catch but this was the definition of a robbery. So for that, he had an important RBI in this one as well. So we'll go ahead and make him our player of the game. There you go. It's in fact Will Robertson with the incredible catch. And let me give you his full stats here. He had 1 RBI. So there you go. 3 RBIs on the day for Sosa. So he can get some honorable mention too. Can you tell I'm upset? I'm sorry. I'm upset. Do your job, Jake. Do your job. Okay. That's going to do it for me. If I keep talking about the Tigers, I might throw up. We don't want that, obviously. And hey, join us for Locked On Lions postgame. Lions in a dogfight with the Packers. I'm sure a lot of people are watching that and tuning me out, as they should be. Tigers lose. We'll be back with you on Locked On Tigers on Tuesday, going up against the New York Yankees. All right. Appreciate everybody tuning in. See you next time on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. Thanks for tuning in. And thank you for liking today's video, subscribing. Make sure you check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley and Locked On Lions with Matt Derry, Locked On Lions postgame show, Locked On Wolverines with Isaiah Hole, Locked On Wolverines postcast, all the good stuff. Locked On Red Wings with Scott Bentley and my good buddy Brian Fisher as well. Love you guys. See ya.